Okay. Now there are different ways of taking input in Java. In fact, 3 different techniques. I'm going to show one of them today, the easiest one, which most students do. Okay, it is by making use of a class called scanner. Now, as I mentioned last time, I'm just saying it again. Scanner is a class which has a lot of functions which are not static. So we will have to make an object of the scanner class. But right in the beginning, we need to import it. So scanner is going to belong to the util package, which is within the Java package. So we'll have to import java.util.scanner if we want to use the scanner class functions. And we'll
So I had a question.
Yes.
Yesterday in class, instead of after class, he was telling something called method. Now, what is method?
Function. Method matlab function.
Okay, got it.
So if I want to use any scanner class function, I have to create an object because scanner class functions are non-static. So therefore, I will have to do what I used to do before. New scanner karke, I will have to call the constructor function. And that constructor function requires an argument in simple layman language, what to scan. I create an scanner object to read information. Scanner functions which are present within the scanner class, they are for reading. So now reading can happen from 2 places. Either you can read from the hard disk, any old Purana document ka data, or you can read from the keyboard. Now we want to read from the keyboard because, say for example, my program is to add 2 numbers, very simple program. I'm going to add 2 numbers and display the result. So what we need to scan, we need to mention in the bracket. Now the keyboard is in Java mentioned as system.in. Now before I proceed, it should click to you that system ka S is capital. In other words, system is a class somewhere. To be honest, system is a class within Lang. So system is actually a class within the Lang package, which is within Java package. So technically, you may think that I need to import 2 things.
Flex.
Yes.
Scanner is a
class.
Within
this scanner is a function.
util.
And this scanner is a function within the scanner class. The creator, the constructor, the God function.
And now system is
another class. Another class
so
name
how can
in
a
Lang
function
package.
be?
No, so I did not give a class as an argument. No, there's something after a dot also. I'll come to that. So class cannot be an argument. Argument has to be a variable. No? Variables are argument. So what is this? We'll have to see. So system is a class. मतलब dot के बाद अभी जो भी है, one thing is sure that it is static. नहीं तो क्लास नेम क्यों है उसके आगे? तो एक चीज तो सही है कि ये बंदा स्टैटिक है. स्टैटिक मतलब सिंगल, and it makes sense. Keyboard is a single object. We've seen layman simple English. So in is an object, static object, which represents the keyboard, which represents the input stream. So therefore, technically, you will have to do import java.lang.system also. Now in Java as a language, Lang is automatically imported. So Lang ka kuch bhi import kiya, so you don't need to write the word import. You can if you want, but you'll never see anyone writing any imports about Lang because it's automatically imported. The Lang package of Java is automatically imported. So whatever classes are within Lang, you don't need to write import for that. But yet you should know which are within Lang as we go on. One of them I just told you is system. That's a class within Lang. In is obviously not a function. There's no round bracket after in. So it's obviously not a function. So in is obviously static because there's a class name before it. And it's a variable. Technically, it's an object. So ये खुद एक object है, which is representative of the input stream, the keyboard. So therefore, system.in is the, like what college will say in a very bad way, it's a notation for keyboard. ऐसा नहीं है. This is class name. This is object name. This object is the channel which connects you to the keyboard. So technically system.in is technically the channel which is connecting you to the keyboard. Now, if you try to dig deeper, if in is an object, तो in के बाद dot करके भी कुछ कर सकते हैं because object is always a collection. जैसे we create an object and like I said, manav.talk, manav.listen. Every object has functionalities. So technically system.in is an object, system being the class, in being the object, and in being an object, तो उसके बाद dot लगा के we should be able to access other functions of in also, which we'll discuss later.
Like yesterday we did this system dot out dot
That is for
print.
printing. That is for printing. That is different. I'll come to that. I'll come to that one second. So let's call this guy as S, and for that we'll have to tell the computer that scanner S बना रहा हूं मैं. This is like a declaration, and this is like an initialization. So now S is an object which is going to scan the channel, which is going to scan the input stream, which is connecting the keyboard. Now using this S, I can fetch information of different types from the keyboard, whatever I want. So S dot karke, I can access a list of all non-static functions of the scanner class. तो स्कैनर क्लास के अंदर जितने भी फंक्शंस है नॉन स्टैटिक वाले, those all I'll be able to access via S. And that was the purpose of creating it. So if I want to add two integers, for example, I will use the function called nextInt. NextInt is used for reading an integer. Now what is nextInt? It's a function, round brackets, starting with small. Is it static or non-static? It is non-static because what precedes the dot is the object name. And whatever the nextInt function gets for you, I'm dumping into some variable A. So naturally I have to create A. I create here, I create here, I create here. That's up to me. Int A equal to, or I can create in the beginning. So it's not like language like C, C++, language like C where every variable has to be created in the beginning. Agar C hota, to sab variable starting mein hote. But you don't have to do in the start. You can do it while you use it the first time, or just before you use it the first time, or anywhere on that line or before it. That's fine. Same way, if I want to fetch a B, again, I have to do nextInt. Assume I want to add two integers. I don't create a new scanner object for every input. Scanner object is the channel object. I need only one channel to take as many inputs I want. हर एक बार एक नया channel create नहीं करते. वही channel पे we can get as much information we want. This is like an input channel, input stream बोलते हैं उसको. Then
So
naturally,
Namra kind of this is kind of little bit confusing. When we do the whole coding thing, it will be a little bit clearer. Na?
नहीं ना यही कोड है, यही कोड चल रहा है. This is exactly how I'm going to write.
It's kind of confusing how you start with.
I come to it now. So you start with this. Hold on, I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it. So you understand each line first. And this I'm going in a proper sequence only. I created memory locations. I created the scanner object. It's a proper sequence. I read A and B. Now I calculate C.
Okay.
So I read A and B using a scanner object function. Why scanner object? For this function non-static. Scanner object banaya kaise maine? Scanner object attaches to what I mentioned as an argument. System.in is a static object. This is a static object representing the channel. So S is now going to work on the channel.
Okay.
Now, once I've calculated C, I need to display C. Now, for displaying C, I have to push it through another channel which connects me to the monitor. So we need to, again, how we create associated S with system.in. We will have to now dump our information into the output channel. System.in was representation of the input channel or the keyboard in layman language. Same way, system.out is symbolic of the output channel or the monitor.
Okay.
So what is system again? Class in lang. What is out again? Static object. Round bracket nahi hai. So it is static object. Object is always a collection of functions. It's the object ke baad dot karke we can access the functions. Like we had done in S dot. S dot ke baad we get a list of
static,
functions.
non-static is what we did yesterday, right?
Correct. So this is a static object because class name is before it. It's not a function because there is no round bracket after it. Now out is an object. Well, object ke paas dot karke you can access the all list of functions. So system.out dot karke now I can access the list of functions which are accessible via out. And via out I can access a one function called print.
Print.
So system.out.print. Now what is print? A function.
Yeah.
Static है कि non-static है? ये non-static है because object है इधर before it.
So can you explain static, non-static to brief?
Static was shared by everyone. So when you access its class
And
name dot function name, and that is
non-static was
individual.
a particular person,
Individual.
like the name.
Correct. So we have to access print, we had to use out. But to access out, we had to use a class called
Use
system.
system.
Because out was static. That's why we need to use the class name. So
Okay,
print is
got
a
it.
function within which object out, and out is within what system? The class system. Out of which out
Yeah.
is static. Now, how you
Got it.
want to print is your choice. That is sole and whole your choice. How you want to tell your client. Say, I want to tell my client sum is equal to black. I don't know what the answer is, obviously. जो A होगा, जो B होगा, वो add होके C में चला गया. जो भी C का answer है, I want to display that answer here. My choice. So the decorative part of the input, you will put in double quotes. Wherever the value comes, you shut the double quotes. Plus is called string concatenation operator. Plus is used for joining text. Now you may argue that, sir, what's coming up just now is not a text now. This is an integer. But when you connect a text to an integer, it automatically converts an integer to text and joins it.
Got it, sir.
So this will show the answer. Sum equal to will come on the screen because in double quotes as it is. And whatever are not in double quotes, values of that variable will come over there.
Okay, so plus is just like a space
Joining.
in between, right?
No space also. Just connect. No space
So
also.
like what do you do if you want a space, comma?
Put a space here, no?
Acha, oh, okay, got it.
And then close the quotes.
But
Yeah. Now,
yeah,
this entire code which we wrote, mainly it consists of 4 parts. First part, you created memory locations. Second part, you did input. Third part, you did calculations. And fourth part, you did output. I call this as sequential programming.
yeah,
Declaration of locations, input, calculation, output. Obviously, Python never had declaration of variables. It's a loosely bound language. So there was no declaration of variables in Python. But in Java, which is tightly bound or strongly bound language, you have to declare or create your variables. Then take input, do calculations, and present the output. Now this entire section, like C and C++, has to be enclosed in a function also. मतलब हर चीज कोडिंग का कोई भी चीज फंक्शन के अंदर ही होना चाहिए. See, there are inbuilt functions also. Like there's an inbuilt function we just discussed called nextInt. Now nextInt का code must have been written by someone, na? So हर code जो होता है has to be within some function. Inbuilt function है तुम्हारा खुद का function. Now this entire code what you wrote, you will have to put it in a function compulsory. And every function has to be within a class, वो भी compulsory. So now, unfortunately, like how nextInt was within scanner, so every function has to be in a class, and every class is inside some package.
Yeah.
So same way, whatever code you write, also you'll have to put in a function. That function you'll have to put in a class, and that class you'll have to put in some package. So even your things you'll have to do like that. How the inbuilt things are there, तुम्हारा खुद का भी वैसा करना पड़ेगा. So whatever code you wrote, you'll have to put in a function. And that thing should go in a class, and that thing should go in a package. So how do I land up doing this entire thing? So first step, I'll have to put this entire thing into a function. So I first put this in a pair of curly brackets, which call I'm making it a block. Then the name of this function has to be main, compulsory, all small letters.
It's
so
only
main,
for this.
every program has to have one main and only one main. Program always starts where the main is. So main is like current कैसे घर का इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कहाँ से शुरू होता है? Main switch से. Then पूरे घर में दौड़ता रहता है वो. Same way, program starts from main. फिर वो जाएगा नेक्स्ट इंट, मतलब स्कैनर क्लास के अंदर गया, नेक्स्ट इंट का कोड रन करके वापस आया, वापस नेक्स्ट इंट को गया, वापस आया, अभी प्रिंट फंक्शन को गया, वापस आया. सो इट कीप्स ऑन बाइफरकेटिंग, बट उसका शुरुआत और उसका अंत मेन में ही होता है, जैसे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का. It starts from the main box, runs to the entire house, goes back to the main box. So same way the code starts from main, then it runs around at different packages, different classes, different functions. Everywhere it keeps on running around. But वापस वो अपने घर को ही आएगा. So main से शुरू, main पे अंत में it will end, but बीच में it will take bifurcations as many required wherever required. So your function is making use of many other functions. Now, main. At the end, on completion, now you need to understand who is executing main. That's a big question. Now, in layman language, हम लोग बोलेंगे कि Java का software is running main. Who runs a program? जो software हम लोगों ने install किया Java के लिए, that runs the program. Not a computer doesn't run the program. If you think of it that way, no. If computer knew how to run Java programs, why do we install anything? So naturally, the computer doesn't know how to run a Java program. So we install some software which is actually running the Java program. Now the software is pretty huge, what we call the Java software. उसमें एक component है which is called the JRE, the Java Runtime Environment. JRE is responsible for running the programs, मतलब finding errors, everything. So JRE is a runtime environment. So JRE is the part of Java which is responsible for running your program. Now, on completion of the program, do you want to send a result back to the GRE? Now, from your and my point of view, it's always a no. अब देखो GRE का थोड़ा कुछ भेजना है. Industrial program.
So what is GRE exactly? Like Java.
Java का part which is running a program. Who is running a program?
Java.
The GRE part of Java. GRE एक folder है. If you want to delete that folder, Java program won't run. Everything is a folder. When you install Java, you install JRE. Along with you install in fact a bigger package called JDK, Java Development Kit. JDK के अंदर GRE है as one component of the many components. GRE is responsible for running your program. So who runs main? Who runs a program? GRE, which is part of JDK. JDK is a bigger system. Development Kit. The development kit का एक component है runtime environment. So whenever a program ends, you don't want to send back any results to the GRE. Industrially we do, but practically as a student we don't care. So we write void main. Void main means on completion we don't want to send anything to the GRE. Void means nothing. We are not sending anything. What we want to send, uska type we mentioned before main. So if you are returning something to the GRE, so you do return 1 for example, then you'll say int main. अगर तुम कुछ भेज रहे हो. Now I'm not going to technicalities just now as to why we would want to send. Let's keep that aside. Let's keep that thing in a more industrial environment later. Okay, so void means I'm not sending anything. Main is what my program starts and ends with. Then this function will be static because I told you it will be single. Static मतलब what? Class name dot function name. मतलब बुलाने वाला उसको class name dot function name से बुलाएगा. बुलाने वाला कौन है मेन को कौन बुलाएगा? GRE. GRE is responsible for calling the main. So इसलिए अगर मैं main को static बनाता हूँ and I don't have a choice, main if I make static, then GRE can call this main using class name dot function name format. Function का name is main. Function का name is main. Class name dot function name. मतलब this entire thing should be in a class also. Think about it. We have class name, a function name, in a class. So I'll have to create a class also. So I call the class as example1. Open curly bracket. Okay, I don't have to place some writing here. Okay, so class example1, which will end here. So everything is inside a class. So एक बड़ा class है, जिसके अंदर main है, जिसके अंदर code है. Repeating my statement which I said 10 minutes back. Every code has to be in a function. Every function should be inside a class. So EX1 is my class. So when GRE calls the main, how will GRE call the main as EX1.main? Think. Why? Because main is static. वो सबसे बड़ी चीज है. So because main is static, you invoke it by, who will invoke? The GRE will invoke by class name dot function name format. Now the big question comes. So GRE को कैसे पता चलेगा कि class का name EX1 है? Think. So when you save this program, you will have to save with the same name, ex1.java. So your file name has the class name within which main is there. ताकि JRE को फाइल नेम से ही पता चल जाएगा कि किसका मेन, EX1 का मेन. Getting it? So file name should match the class name which has the main function in it. So by mistake,
Okay.
you call this as capital EX1, he will try to do capital EX1 dot main, an error. तो capital EX1 में main है ही नहीं, capital EX1 जैसा कुछ नहीं बनाया तुमने.
So the program will not run.
Correct. It'll give an error. It'll say main not found.
So class name we can give anything, right?
Anything. Yeah. Your class का name this is. जैसे scanner inbuilt class था. पर ये तुम्हारा class है ना, तो तुम्हारी मर्जी. What name? Like you can see, I'm not taking first letter capital also. कल मैं बताता था class name should be in capital. Your class name, do what the hell you want. Yes. If you want to be a good industry programmer, you should keep the first letter capital. But जरूरी नहीं है.
So like now this is a safe program and we can send it to anybody and they can run the program and do what the program is doing basically.
Yes. But your class name is obtained from your file name. So if your file name is not correct, then it won't be able to run. Who? The GRE.
So file name is like the package of the...
Nah. File name is the class name. Package तो अलग चीज है. तो वो भी बताना है.
Okay.
So what I told you, statements are inside main. Main is inside a class. Class will be in a package. I'll come to that. Hold on. Now I was trying to explain what static was. My main line is not yet over. So main is static. So the invoking entity, the person who's invoking main, who's calling main, will do now class name dot function.
Right?
Class static is single.
Is
Static
that
मतलब
public?
single. ना वो static public नहीं है. Public अलग चीज है. Hold on. I'll
Yeah,
come
I'm
to
kind
that
of
also.
confused in the whole,
Public अलग चीज है. Public you are talking about college, but college ने क्या बोला छोड़ो ना. Public is a different thing. That I'm coming to it. Hold on. Public अलग है. Static is single. Single entity. Object बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. मेरा bottle तेरा bottle नहीं. Common bottle. मेरा main तेरा main नहीं. Common main.
That is
So,
static.
Static. So therefore your GRE is invoking main using the class name dot format. Why? Because main is static.
Okay.
Now main is inside a class. And GRE, is GRE part of your class or is GRE not part of your class? Think about it. GRE was written by you or by somebody else? No?
By somebody else. By somebody
तूने
else.
नहीं लिखा GRE, तो तेरे क्लास का थोड़ी हुआ वो. So it is outsider. It is written by somebody else, like you said. So if GRE is written by somebody else, he is an outsider, what we say. Outsiders can access only things which are public. Think.
Okay, that's why you had public in front.
So like technically you are an outsider for me. You can access only those activities of mine which are available for the public. Now for example, you will say, you come to me and say, "Bhai, sir, Maggie banao." मैं थोड़े बनाऊंगा. Not that I don't know how to make. Think. I know how to make, but वो public activity नहीं है ना. भले किसी और के लिए मैगी बनाना public activity है. Somebody is a chef or somebody has a restaurant or something like that. उसके लिए खाना बनाना public activity हो सकता है. But मेरे लिए खाना बनाना public activity नहीं है. So only things which are public is what outsiders can access.
Right.
Now why is main public? Because outsider needs access. Who outsider? GRE. Why is main static? So that outsider will not have to create an object of the class. He'll be able to do class name dot main and access the function directly. Why void? Because main is not planning to send back any result at the end to GRE back. Main, it has to be main. Okay, now this is something which I'm not explaining today, what's in the bracket, because that is the third method of taking input. ये एक method था input का. Scanner object.
So sir, we start with the code with input Java util scanner.
Yes.
So that will kind of import the whole Java package.
Yes. Not Java package,
Then-
scanner class.
Scanner
That will
class.
import the scanner class and you'll be able to use functions of the scanner class.
Then you put your class name, right?
Within
Whatever
which
you want
the
to-
main is there, public static void main.
Okay, and then you put the whole code inside of it. That was
इसे हमेशा
integer,
उल्टा
the
देखो.
first-
हमेशा उल्टा देखो. Code is inside a function, function is inside a class is inside a package. Whether it's yours or whether it's inbuilt. कोई
So
भी
like-
code has to be in a function has to be in a class has to be in a package.
So this integer ABC and scanner S, those are the
Codes.
kind of the variables, right?
This is a coding. Variables,
Yeah.
input, calculation, output, ये तेरा coding है.
So can
This
you
is what the
write it
client
once?
wants. This is what the client wants.
Yeah.
Client का काम ये है, पर वो client को satisfy करने के लिए ऊपर का ये सब रंगोली करना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा.
But that's what your basically client wants. Give me 1 second.
Got it. So can you write it once and show it? Like I understood what it is.
But wait, it's not over yet. Hold on. It's not over yet. Hold on. Okay, now
No.
in the bracket of main, you have an argument again. Like see, some functions have arguments, right? So main also has arguments. Now the main ka argument is a string array. You can see string ka S capital, and any array.
That's a class again.
Yes. So there's a class called string in lang. It's the import ki zarurat nahi hai because string is in lang. Now, why do I need this? Technically, I will just say today it's a format. But this is actually a third way of taking input. Input का 3 option है. एक scanner object, एक buffer reader object, और एक command line arguments. So this is the third technique of taking input. Now you say I'm not using ARR anywhere in my program. Why? I'm not taking this as an input only. For लिखना पड़ता है. So every main has to be public, static, void, and should have a string array as its argument, even though you're not going to use it. The point is, what if you were using it? The program में चाहिए अपने को. Even though we know that our input is done in a different way, but there has to be a string array. This name can be anything. I've written ARR. You can give any name. Obviously, that name should not match with any of these names because you cannot have duplicate identity. You cannot have A which is an integer also and A which is a string also. ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हो. It shall be a different name. Now, arrays ka box bracket you can put here like a traditional programming language, or you can even do in Java string array ARR. ऐसा भी allowed है. Box bracket here with the data type. String array ARR. Yeah, string ARR array. This is the people who are knowing C++ normally like using this method because they have been using that before. People who are not using C++ can always use this method. It's more readable, string array ARR. Anyway, the point is we have to write this for sure. ARR can be any name which is not in this list. Now, next question comes. I have not written the package the class is in because हर function class में होता है, हर class कोई ना कोई package में होता है. So all codes are in a function. My function is main. Every function is in a class. My class is ex1. But every class is inside some package, which I haven't mentioned. Now, if I don't mention the package, how to mention a package is not today's lecture objective, how to do packaging. But if you don't mention a package, the package is called default package. So currently my class is ex1, which is inside a package called default. So अगर मैं class का name नहीं लिखता हूं तो उसका packaging is called default. Default नाम का एक package है उसमें चला जाता है. Obviously within ex1 which function do we have? Main. Main is within that ex1. Static and non-static? Static. कौन कॉल करेगा उसको? GRE. GRE मेरा खुद का नहीं है, इससे public है main.
Okay, so static is public and उसमें
No, static is not public. Static अलग है, public अलग है. Don't confuse. Static means single. Static अलग है,
what was
public अलग है.
non-static then?
Non-static was like this is non-static. Object बनाना पड़ेगा फिर उसको use करने के लिए.
And what was that word for people that things that is accessible by everybody and
Static.
Things that is
Static accessible by everybody.
And non-static was not accessible by everybody.
खुद का property.
Okay. So that also kind of becomes public, no? If you say
Nah.
static.
No, it could be static. It could be static, yet it may not be accessible by the public. Take for example,
So
I'll give a classic example. Say for example, I have like say a Parsi Agyari, classic example.
Yeah.
Static है, but सब public के लिए नहीं है.
हाँ.
It is common for that community. Everyone can't access it. Think about it.
Got it.
So therefore, static means shareable by that community, but it doesn't mean that everyone can. It's not publicly available. It doesn't mean it's publicly available.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, so overall, when you're writing any code, I normally never think about this part. Okay, I always
Yeah.
start with the code first, input, calculation, output. फिर आगे पीछे का रंगोली है fill up, curly bracket, public static void main string array. Then वो class के अंदर डालो और जब save करो
So
यही
we
नाम
have
से
to
save करो.
write everything: import, Java, util scanner, class, name,
everything,
public,
everything.
everything. Because I'm talking from the whole college ka thing. Yesterday we just filled 2-3 things and everything came and they just made us write the system output print thing, nothing else.
No, the point is, because see the whole issue is that some softwares now give you a template which is ready. Like I'll probably
Okay.
try to show you. अभी ये मेरा NetBeans है. I do a new project. Java application. Source package default में right click Java class का name ex1. वो एक रेडीमेड टेम्पलेट तैयार करके देता है कोई सॉफ्टवेयर लाइक सी font is to be. One second. Fonts. Curly bracket for that. My integer variables, ABC, my scanner variable S. And S is new scanner, initialize it, connect with system.in. Then, now normally when you take input, now this is something which I also wanted to say. When I do next int,
Is dot.
anyway, B is equal
So if we
to-
leave the brackets like not filled, they'll ask us for input, right?
now the question is that only that how will the client know कि उसको डालना है value? Because see, next int is like wanting to read, but client डालने वाला है, client को थोड़े पता है. So normally before doing input, you
We
should
have put a
always put
print
an output.
function, na?
Correct. Put an output statement saying enter 3 integers or something like that.
Yeah. So
And
this is
then,
kind of how
okay,
it
not
works.
3 integers, sorry, my bad. It's addition, so 2 integers. Correct. And then calculate C as A plus B, and then system.out.
Out.
ln. However, print, sorry. Not ln, I don't need. I'm going to print ln later. And I print C. Okay, if I run this program, I can just right click, run, shift F6. At the bottom, the output comes, it will tell me to enter here, enter 2 integers. So I'll set 10 and 20. The sum is equal to 30. Now see, since I did system.print, you know, after the program got over, it gives a message build successful to so much time came on the same line. If I do system.out print ln, that means not print on a new line. That's a big mistake. It means print and then go to a new line.
Okay.
So this will not get printed on a new line, but after printing this, it will go to a new line.
Okay.
So system.println is like end on a new line, end with a new line. It doesn't mean start with a new line. So you can see this message went down because system.println ensured that after this is printed, a new line is generated. So
Can you show the
system.println
code again?
system.println means move to a new line after this line.